Supporting your partner through their mental health challenges is crucial. These can be people in your life that are really close to you, or there can be colleagues or friends or family, as everybody's trying to navigate through these stressful and overwhelming and confusing times. It's important to understand, how can you be there for yourself, keep yourself mentally stable, and also be able to care about the people that are struggling emotionally in your life. So it might be a conflict with somebody at home, somebody in work. When someone's in a bad mood, they don't talk to you, they give you the cold shoulder. In this video, I'm going to get right into it, and I'm going to share with you 5 practical and simple tips taken from my advanced persuasion and influence training over the years. And after watching this video, you can implement these into your life in a simplified format. I'm going to do my best to simplify it and give you something that you can take away, just little tips that you can use before you approach somebody in a conversation, whether you're trying to help them, or maybe you're the one that's struggling and you're feeling angry and stressed out, and you feel guilty because it's affecting other people around you. These are 5 tips that will definitely help you to change how you approach people and how you care about them and how you guide them in the direction that you want to take them. And these aren't just theoretical concepts. They're real actionable strategies that you can make significant difference in people's lives, in all your relationships with your friends, your families, and your work colleagues, but also how you think yourself when you're in a low mood or you're feeling like life is just getting in on top of you. Whether your partner's dealing with stress, anger, or depression, or other mental issues that are holding them back or that are causing them to feel low, and you're really concerned about them because you care about them, these tips will help you to create a supportive environment and help you, the people that you care about, to feel more comfortable when you're talking to them, because sometimes it can be frustrating when you're talking to somebody that's feeling low. There can be something going on inside of you that's probably making them feel more uncomfortable that you might not be aware of, or maybe you are aware of, that every time you talk to them, it feels a little bit hostile and dismissive. So I'm going to give you some little practical tips here that you can use that will definitely help to dissolve any of that stuff. So let's explore how to be the best friend, the best partner possible when it comes to supporting somebody with their mental health. So we get right into it. Tip 1: let go of any sense that what they are going through is about you or who you are, that it's personal, or that it's about you or who they are. What they're going through sometimes can feel like it's a reflection on you, and it can frustrate you, and you can start to get caught up in thinking, this is something to do with my life, it's affecting my life, it's affecting the kids' lives, it's affecting my decisions. And sometimes you might be paying too much attention to yourself and not enough attention to the other person, okay? So tip number 1 is let go as best you can when you're helping them, to let go of any sense that it's personal or it's about you or who you are. And I'm going to give you more tips that will kind of make all of these tips knit together, where you can apply them as a practical mindset. Tip number 2, as best you can, keep your vibration high. For me, it's important. It's the most important thing is the mood that you're in. When you're going to help somebody, it's important that you put yourself purposely in a good mood, not too much of a good mood where you become annoying, but you have to keep yourself in a good, positive mindset in order to be able to help somebody. So if you want to help to change how they feel, you must first change how you feel. Because I watch a lot of people when they're getting into a conversation, they're frustrated. They have these built up stories in their head about what the other person is doing and why they're doing it, and what they're going to say. And their whole nervous system is shot. And it can come across in your delivery. And what you're going to say in that bad mood is going to be different than what you're going to say if you're in a better mood. So if you want to change how they feel, you must first change how you feel. So it's always much easier to lead somebody to a better place if you go there first. Because if you're leading a conversation from a frustrated mood, you're going to get more complicated and frustrated outcomes. You'll see it. You'll see people doing it when they're frustrated and they're having a conversation. It just really goes into a worse place, or it goes nowhere. So tip number 3, a really good leader is always willing to follow as well as lead. In order to lead them, you must be willing to follow. So a good teacher is always willing to learn. And the more you learn, the more you can help them. So there's stuff that's going on in their life that you might not know about, that just doing a little bit of investigation and asking them more questions like Columbo, like an investigator, like a detective, and just getting real curious, but being genuine about it, not just inquisitive or just doing it for the sake of doing it. Just be willing to listen before you tell them what to do. Listening isn't a technique that you you learn. It's a natural process. You just have to practice simply listening without trying to give advice. It's hard because you just want to help all the time. You don't have to listen all the time, but developing this skill to listen is crucial. And it's not something that most people can do, because even when they're listening, sometimes when a person is listening to somebody with their problems, they're also inside their head thinking and talking about what they're going to say next. But genuinely just practicing listening and checking in with yourself. Am I listening enough, or am I talking too much? You can do that when you're in a conversation. You can ask yourself that question. Am I paying enough attention to them, or am I paying too much attention to how I'm feeling and what I want to say next? Because sometimes it's not always what you say that helps, it's what you don't say. Sometimes silence can be more powerful than words, and just sitting there and listening can be really helpful, where someone go, you know what, I'm glad I got that off my chest. I'm glad you really listened. So tip number 4, letting go of rehearsing the story about what the situation means. Because without the story, the problem has no meaning. And without the meaning, the feeling loses its power. People sometimes get caught up in staying stuck in the story loop, the problem loop, where they're talking about who was there, what happened, how they're feeling. And that can be helpful up to a certain point. But you have to imagine that when you're talking about a problem, imagine the problem's a fire and you're talking about it. And when you're talking about it, it's like throwing logs onto the fire. This is precisely why they're in the current situation that they're in, is because they're thinking about it and they're talking about it. And sometimes they're fueling their negative mindset by overthinking about it and over talking about it. And sometimes when you talk more about it, might not always be helpful. I'm not saying that you rule it out altogether, but sometimes you just have to change the story. Always try to ask yourself, am I adding fuel to the fire, or am I helping them to feel better when you're in a conversation? Because sometimes you can talk too much about the problem. And these are the simple tips that I'll summarize at the end, and you can keep them in mind. You can practice one at a time, or you can try and implement them all, or you can watch this video a few times to really get the gist of it. And it will settle in the back of your mind. You know, when you're in a conversation, you'll start to consider things more rather than just going in guns blazing. So try to avoid dwelling on the problem. Instead, do your best to steer the conversation towards a solution. You know, your goal is to lead the discussion in a more positive and constructive direction. If you stay aligned with tip 2, which is maintaining a positive mood, avoiding attachment to the circumstances, you're not attached to the circumstances and you're not taking it personal, and you keep yourself in a positive mood, and you see the problem as separate, and you're fighting with the problem and not with them. If you think about it, this is like you're going to be better equipped to guide them towards a more constructive, solution focused outcome if you hold these in mind. So you're not attached to the problem, and you're trying to hold a uh, positive interpretation of the outcome, if you want to do that, like how you want them to be, and always thinking, I'm leading them in a solution focused way to get them out of the problem that they're in. But do it subtly. Don't try and just go, okay, everybody, let's be positive, because sometimes that can be very counterproductive as well. So these are subtle little things that you're going to apply. They're not rules. They're just something to consider when you're doing something with somebody when they're feeling low. And you can write these down. You can go through and write down in what way you think that you're interpreting what I'm saying. And then just get it into your mind that this is an approach that you're going to consider these, but you don't have to do it as rules like step 1, step 2, step 3, because conversations don't go like that, as you know. So tip number 5, the most important thing that you can remember at any stage: if you doubt anything that you're doing, if they feel like, or you feel like they're getting hostile or dismissive, or you feel like they're getting frustrated, it's always good to remember that your intention is genuinely that you care about them and you want to help them. Keep that in mind. They're genuinely care about them and you want to help them to resolve how they're feeling. You want to help them to get out of the problem. And this is always your intention. When you're in a conversation, if it's with your kid or it's with your partner, you love them. You genuinely want them to feel better. So no matter what they're going through and how they approach you or how they react to you, that they might get hostile or dismissive or try and blame you, it's always your intention that you genuinely love them and you want to help them. Because even couples that are arguing, neither of them genuinely wants to hurt each other. They genuinely don't want to hurt each other. They're just in a bad mood. They're going through a bad time and they're trying to figure it out. They're genuinely trying to figure it out. It's not their fault. They genuinely want each other to feel better. That's their intention, and you have to align with that. However, they often forget what their intention is. This includes the other person as well. They don't want to hurt you. They genuinely just want you to feel better, and they want to feel better. They're just stuck in this loop or whatever they're stuck in. And instead, they get caught up in the circumstances, and they end up fighting with each other and blaming each other. You made me feel this. No, you made me feel like this. And they start to fight with each other. So rather than addressing the problem, they turn against each other, and they mistake the circumstances and the situation for the other person's intention. And it feels like the other person is attacking you. They don't understand you. And this is not necessarily true, but if we get the problem, we can avoid this mistake, and we can put the problem as separate. Because if you're not aligned with your intention and you forget about your intention, this mistake can be very harmful to any relationship or any solution focused approach that you're trying to implement into the conversation. So, as best you can, always stay aligned with your intention, and ask yourself, if you want, is my intention to make them feel better or worse? So sometimes you can kind of get into a little bit of a conflict, and it might go one way or another. But just step back and walk outside and just ask yourself, am I trying to make them is my intention to make them feel better or worse? And obviously, everybody's going to answer, I just want to make them feel better. And really hold this in mind, because it's important. If you genuinely feel that that's true, and you believe that your intention is to help them to feel better, they'll sense this in the conversation. And as a result, they start to feel better, and you keep holding on to that. Look, this my intention is I just want to help you feel better. You hold that in your mind, and they'll sense it. And when they start to feel better, you'll feel better as well. No matter what they say, any given time in the conversation, you can always respond with, I'm sorry you feel that way. My intention is I really want you to feel better. I love you, and I'm here if you need me. That's how you can just avoid every bit of conflict in your life. If you say that to anybody, they don't really know what to do with that. You can rewind this back, and you can play it again. And it's like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I really want you to feel better. My intention is I love you, and I'm trying to help you. I'm here if you need me. And just leave it at that. And instead of just walking away and saying, okay, forget about it, I'll leave you alone, say this instead. Do you want to talk about this now, or would you feel better talking about it a little bit later? In a humble way, aligned with your intention. Do you want to talk about this now, or would you feel better talking about it a little bit later? Because you're giving them two choices there, instead of just going, okay, do you want to talk about this later? They might want to talk about it now. So you give them the two choices. So you say, do you want to talk now, or would you feel better talking a little bit later? Either way is good for me. And they'll answer. If they tell you to go away and come back and evaluate when is a better time to do it. So a summary of this. This is a kind of little concise summary of the tips that we discussed in helping someone who's struggling emotionally. And it might be you, or it might be the other person. So just think, am I, making the other person feel uncomfortable because I am in a low mood and they're trying to help me? And consider, like, is their intention that they love me and they want to help me, or are they trying to fight with me? And we know the answer to that. If they're with you and they're still with you, they love you and they care about you. And their intention is they want you to feel better. Take your part in this and take responsibility of helping them to build a bridge. They're building a bridge to the other person. And I'm going to, put a video link to this one here. That's going to show you how to build bridges and not walls in a relationship. So it might be helpful to add that into your ability to be able to communicate. You're advancing your ability. You're a good communicator already. You're just making your communication abilities better. So if you want to watch that and you want to really get good at this stuff, watch the videos a few times. That's what I do when I was learning. That's what I was doing when I was learning this. I watched the videos a few times. So tip number 1 is remember to try not make their struggle personal, that it's about you or who you are. And tip number 2, make sure that you do your best to maintain a positive mood. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you have to kind of just make sure that if you want to help this other person, in order to help them to feel better, guess who has to go there first? If you want to help somebody to feel better, guess who has to go there first? That's right, you do. So if you want to help them to feel better, genuinely do your best to stay in a positive outlook on life. And tip number 3, be genuinely willing to listen and learn from them, because when you listen attentively, you might hear something that you would have missed if you were just giving advice. Because a lot of people are just trying to tell the other person what they need to do, and they're telling them how they feel. Just genuinely listen and do it in a humble, kind, and compassionate way. Like, genuinely just listen to what they have to say. Listen to them. And don't just go, yeah, okay, genuinely You love them. Your intention is you want them to feel better. And some people really like when you listen and they're heard. That might be all that it takes. And now you're teaching them how to listen. And they'll start to pick up this pattern that you're doing, and they might actually listen to you. If you're a good listener, you'll be a good teacher, because every good teacher should be willing to listen. And everybody that's willing to listen becomes a good teacher. So try to avoid, number 4, try to avoid dwelling on the person's problem. You know, instead, try to adopt like a subtle, focused mindset. So only give these as rules, because it's too strict if you just go, here's what you need to do next. Get them into a positive humor, talk positive to them. Try and avoid dwelling on the problem. Instead, adapt a subtle solution focused mindset. Always keep like in mind that you're kind of leading them across the room on a little bit of tape, and you're coaching them. Sometimes they might stop, and it's like you have them on a bit of tape and they might not want to go. So stay there and listen and just talk. And don't be in a rush to get them somewhere, because the tape might snap. That's the way I see it when I'm leading somebody. I feel a little bit of resistance and I stay there till I resolve what's there. And then I go, are you ready? And you can feel the resistance. You can see it where they're not ready to make that big leap into a change, So subtle solution focused mindset when you're talking to somebody that's in a low mood. Taking into consideration, like I said, through all this might be you or it might be somebody else. Because someone else might be trying to help you and you might be resisting too much. But just understand that their intention is they want you to feel better. They just don't know how to do it. And if you teach them and you go there first, they might be able to see that there's another way of doing things. This is great that you're doing it, because without you, then they'll never know. And you might just get caught up in that loop of fighting with each other all the time and fighting with each other instead of the problem. So tip number 5, keep in mind that you care about them and you genuinely want to help them to feel better, because your intention is you love them and you want them to feel better. You're their partner, you're their friend, and your intention is to make people feel better. That's why we're all here. We just want to feel better, but some people don't know how to do it. Always genuinely keep that in mind. You're there to help them. You want to help them, and you're learning how to figure out to help them to feel better. And by applying these strategies, you can create a supportive environment and a comfortable environment for the people that you love. And you're leading them towards feeling better. You're kind of learning how to guide them and listen a bit more, and you're learning strategies and techniques. It's more like you're not just stuck in the problem. You're like thinking, how can we get out of this problem? And remember, you genuinely care about them. And a positive approach can make a significant difference if you just know that you genuinely care. It'll come across in your delivery, and it'll make a big difference to their emotional well-being. So if you want to dive deeper into this, I'll tag a video at the end of it that's going to show you how to have better relationships with people. It's called How to Build Bridges and Not Walls. And I'm sharing a lot of my personal experiences and insights through these videos. I'm talking the talk and I'm walking the walk. I'm not just teaching people this stuff. I'm applying it to my own life in a really good way. And I'm also helping people to apply it to their life. And I'm able to challenge their problems and change how they think and feel about stuff. Each one of my videos is packed with solution-focused strategies that I've used on myself and my clients who've been in similar situations to this when they're stuck in their relationships. And if you're feeling like you could use some more personalized guidance, I'm here for that too. I offer one-to-one coaching sessions where I can really dig in to your specific situation and transform how you think and feel using advanced psychology and influence techniques that will help you to create a significant and lasting change in your life. That sounds like something that you'd be interested in. Head over to my website and just request a discovery call with me, Paul Campbell. And during the call, I'll explain exactly how I can help you to break through whatever's holding you back. And remember, whether you're just watching the videos or you're considering coaching, the goal here for me is the same. It's to help you to understand what your purpose is and to help you to light up that fire in your belly again and that passion, to help you to find a little bit of peace in your mind. It's not too much to ask, and help you to help other people find a little bit of peace in their mind by even sharing these videos or just sharing some insight that you're learning here with me. And when you have peace in your mind, it's easier to get motivated and enjoy life and just take it all in while you're here. It's not that long life. You might as well just enjoy whatever it is that you have, and instead of kind of worrying where you're going to be, just slow down and take the smallest next step. So take that step. Whatever step feels right for you. Maybe you just want to apply one of these principles to the conversation if you're in a conflict with somebody, or you just want to apply the whole thing and you really want to delve into it. start taking some sort of action and stop scrolling through Facebook and TikTok. Only watch my videos though. And that stuff that's ways now, and use these videos that are going to add value to your life. They're going to create meaning in your life. And me and my videos are here to support you along the way. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments, and I definitely will get back to you or reply to all my comments.